Okay, so one thing is I have found a bug, which is it just crashed straight out with a memory access violation when I saved an image from the array gadget. So I'm going to compile it with the debugger on and see what it says, because I assume it's going to do it again. I suppose I could just jump to response, save image button. Can I see it before it runs? Probably not. Oh, I wonder if it's that. Oh. That would be strange if it was. Like, I don't understand why it would be. I bet that is what it is, mind you. I just can't figure out why. F. What would F be? I'd looked it up. It's the file name. Anyway, we're about to see it crash. Oh yeah, strangeness. Array viewer. My goodness me, the debugger is having a hard time. A nice array, if I go to save image, image.pung in recursor things, attempted to evoke method on null instance, so often the way. Okay, whereabouts? Oh, there. Material, get texture, manage pixmap, save fn. Oh man. Well, that's a bit hard to understand because there is something being displayed there. Erg. Okay. Yeah, so it's got the file name. That's about all I know. Nothing very useful in all that. It would be more useful if I was clever and used a lot of locals. Let me see. First off, let me look at finished draw. You see, there's some material uniforms. Finished draw is occurring because I see that thing, and it's not saying there's no material. Is it telling me it's got no texture? Let me go back here. Array, get texture, no, material, get texture, manage pixmap, save fn. Now, this is what I did before. I have changed. I mean, this material is different in that it was created as opposed to loaded. No, it's in general graphics. And it's kind of working because it's being displayed, I think. And exactly the same thing is happening. textures I equals text. Just exactly the same thing, but with a created texture. Get texture. Okay, well, I guess what I have to do here is say if not material debug right no material, if not material get texture, right no texture, if not material get texture managed fix map debug right no pix map. How about that? Let me at least see which part of this it's falling over on. I do have to think about other things about this display. It's very similar to the image viewer. So similar, in fact, that it's crazy really to keep them separate. That is pretty painful, and I don't know what part it is. If it's the pix map or the loading, I must at least try compressing. No pix map, no pix map. Right. Well, I guess I can save the pix map, can't I? Because when I go to apply, I have the pix map. Yeah, see, that's pretty weird. That is what I was doing before. I guess there's something about code normal. Well, I am puzzled. I'm puzzled, but let me go back and have a look. I might not need to do it anyway. I don't think I do need to do it anyway. Let's see. Yeah, so it picks as a thing that gets, what, created or something? In apply settings, is it? No. On load array? Yeah, pix equals new pix map. Perhaps do I, material discard, material equals null. Maybe I should say if pix discard, pix equals null. This kind of does imply that that the minute you try to load something, everything gets ditched, which is maybe not the greatest, but in fact I can probably fix that, but for the time being, as long as it works, I'm going to be okay with it. The main thing I want to think is, as long as after this it updates everything, basically. Okay, so yeah, pix gets assigned, so I guess I'm going to say don't bother. Don't do me any favors. Just say, and you can do the same. Pix. Save. F, I'm going to guess. Might come into problems with that later. Pix. Save. F. There's a problem here? No. So, don't know. Not feeling delighted about that. Let's just see. Something's gone wrong with my Windows, but I'm not going to dwell on it. Yowza. Okay, save image as image pung. Thanks. Let's have a little look. Image pung is what I expected it to be. A beautiful image like that. Let's just see what I can do. I can set this to be something like 0.3 and make it look a bit grim. But, oh, I did click apply. Yeah, there it goes. Wow. Doesn't look too bad there, actually. It is breaking up a bit, but this, you know, I have to change this array to floats for one thing. I don't know. I don't know if that's the thing. Like I didn't previously consider that I'd be dividing this down. I just thought I could use integers to, you know, determine how far through. Anyway, how far through a range of possibilities one is, or a spot is. But no, I'm very pleased with the amount of extra detail that the heaps and heaps of recursions gives me. And I'm looking forward to getting this all sorted, because, let me just make sure that this works. Why not overwrite this weird thing called 15 recursions to save? See if this works. Okay. It is correct. And mighty is correct. I'd like this be completely smooth. Means more recursions, that's one thing. Obviously it's only reaching, this is with a -1 top threshold, so. Okay, so I am going to call that problem solved and think about the other problems with this thing. Will I just go back in there and compile it? Will I go back in there and compile it? Oops, I pushed a button with the debugger off for fun. I think if I do that, I'll probably end up playing with it for too long, and I need to think a little bit. Because I want to get on to making different, I'm going to call them like distributions, height distribution methods or something. Because it's not really just scaling, it's just ways of changing the heights after they've been decided. What I've got to think about really is the appearance of these gadgets. This is obviously horrible. The ones that look okay. The inactive version of these gadgets is not great. I mean, it's basically functional, but it could be better. I think it could still use an outline, at least a sort of dim, I don't know what, something. But the main problem is that this object, this gadget, and the image viewer are so similar that they really have to be made the same. I have to make it that you can view images and arrays side by side, that you can open a new view and load what you want into it. The latest array, the latest image, you can load an image or load an array, and from every view you should be able to save whatever the currently viewed image is. So what I think that really means is making menus like this that work, because rather than cluttering up the display with more and more buttons, because on top of this there would also be load latest image, open latest image, save array, I don't know, save array's there, but open latest image would be added anyway. So you'd have open latest array, open image, open latest image, and you'd also, whenever it's an array, you have save array, and whenever it's an image or an array, you have save image. Anyway, I'm wittering about it. And some of these gadgets disappear. I think that the open buttons should be up here, as should the save buttons, which, I don't know, the main thing about the save buttons is that they either the save array button is visible or it's not. So it's not so much a menu of buttons as just maybe one of them is not visible. I will draw this out in a moment. But it brings me to another question, which is, if I'm going to be using more gadgets, do I want to commit to trying to make my gadgets match this style? The nice thing about doing that is that it sort of helps clarify that this display is more about what's behind it, that these are related to the thing behind it, and it just draws a distinction between the two kind of different parts of the editor, the part which you play with the points and the parts where you play with the output, the image and the arrays. So those are the nice things about these types of gadgets with the different appearance. The not nice thing is that I don't really have a full set of them. This does not look right. And I could play with this gadget to make it look right, but then it's more of a play with it to make its little spawn thing here look right. If you see what I mean, future me. One thing is in my code, where I say, oh, that gadget I just made, make all its costumes look like this one's. It's not difficult. The other thing is in the GUI code, the bit where this gadget actually works and it spawns this gadget. And I was humming and hawing to myself about what makes sense to do. Because the skinning aspect of the GUI is okay, and actually it offers loads of flexibility. It's just, as I remember from a few days ago, last week maybe, 2 weeks ago, I'll have to check the videos, actually going in and making new parts of it is time consuming, and there are a lot of details. And as I was thinking about how I would make it, how could I make it such that it was fairly simple to say to any gadget, oh, actually take on this other form, don't do the default form, do the alternative form. And when I was thinking about that, I thought about, you give me some space here. Texture, I think I know enough about you for now. You can go. You can go. GUI and classes and GUI skins I have as well. In GUI classes, these things, the costume def, color sets. And this defines what a costume actually is as well, which is just the combination of a skin, an image, and a color set. But the costume def each costume def is a costume. But this set of costume definitions is kind of like, well, you know, it's a set for the GUI, for every type of standard gadget that I have, there I think is pretty much, you know, there aren't any of these which aren't used at all, I don't think. These are the ones I added. And in a way, most of the gadgets are based on that. These ones are the kind of constants. Well, no, these ones, and I guess these, could apply to many things. You know, it's a blank is a totally invisible costume. Blank inactive is also totally invisible. I believe. God, I hope so. Yeah, it's a bit strange that there's blank white, blank, and blank inactive. But it's because the costume is made up of the skin, the image, and the color set. And one of the colors in the color set is the text color. And in a standard blank, the text color is black. In blank white, the text color is white. That's my memory of it. I think I made that just recently so that I could make transparent things with white text. Anyway. So because pretty much all of the gadgets in this GUI refer to those costume definitions, here is a menu item, yeah. This menu item is set up with a blank costume definition, which means nothing is drawn, but it does have a color set, like I say, with black text. What really sort of, well, I suppose when I was thinking about it, what I imagined was that actually this class, all I'm doing is collecting this together, you know. If I made these into fields, every instance of this class would have a whole set of this. Same with this, same with this. And actually, if I just stuck the color set and color definitions into the costume definition class, I would probably have to let me think for a second. I'm going to have to reset my machine. That's 25 minutes. Let me think for another moment. So the point is that I could make instances of costume definitions, color set definitions, and color definitions. And at the moment what I do is this generate defaults, which just generates a default skin. It's a full set of all the color, costume, and color sets, and it sets these two things: skin and in skin, sharp skin and sharp skin in. Like, I could change the look of the whole thing by changing those two things. But anyway, this could be done more cleanly now, much more cleanly, with a simple function pointer. And I could do away with this horrible skin class. Now, I'm just thinking this through, because I have to decide which way I'm going to go. I have to decide whether or not I actually want to do this. Kind of try and get rid of this skin class altogether. My skin must get set up. This little detail does make it more annoying. What would I ideally like? What I would like is inside GUI, in Gadget, Draw, is it? Costume render, right. So it either renders it inactive or in its actual state. This is to create the inheritance of inactivity. Then this bit is what I want. Instead of a costume having a skin with a render, well, what actually the heck is it? Costume must have render, which calls skin render. Yeah, calls skin draw. So this actually would be almost the same. Costume would have a function pointer called render, which took XY width height. And good question now, mate, is how does it get its image and color set in there when you want to just call render XY width height? So yeah, you still call render on costume, but costume doesn't have skin draw, it just has whatever its function pointer is called, and its function pointer would be well, it's not skin, because I was thinking I don't like the word skin. Because what I was thinking actually is that the word costume def, I think, should be renamed skin and should contain all of these things: the color sets, the colors, and the costumes. And when the GUI is initiated, it should create default skin inside itself. It should have a reference to an instance of skin, as this should be, called default. And I actually think that possibly, I mean, this is where it's a bit of a pain in the butt. These things I'm describing so far are quite easy. But is that actually what every class of gadget has is a method enforced, which is apply skins or apply skin, and receives a skin and can how do I put it? Receives a skin and can sort of assign its own costume references to the correct parts of that skin. I suppose, though, that really every gadget should store a reference to its own skin. Man, it's a bit of a... and it could be just set to default, setting a skin, you know. I don't like it much. What would be nice would be able to call set skin on any gadget, passing a skin reference, such as the default inside GUI would be, and have that gadget automatically assign the correct parts of that skin to its own costumes. That should be okay. The question then is, inside the gadget's own finish draw method, yeah, okay, I think I may pursue this, because yeah, the gadget could store a reference to its own skin. I mean, the gadget is a hideous class. Most of it doesn't belong with the instances, but I would, I'll stick something else in. It doesn't look so bad when you see it like this. This is what's in a gadget, but some of these things have many parts, like the sides. The costume has a few parts. It's all references. The whole of the costume state is references. So not much takes defining to make a costume. Justify visible mouse over, impause, parent children. Yep. Honestly, it's not that bad. I feel like I could be using a sides thing for this as well. But anyway. Relative absolute border face. Okay. So I've had a jolly good think about this for 35 minutes. Well, I have fixed a bug as well. I fixed a bug and had a big think. I am frustrated to be finding myself thinking of doing this, honestly. Because, this has been a fun project and I'm getting close-ish to the end of it. But it is a moribund language, unfortunately, and I do have to think about moving. This is kind of a change to the GUI that take a little while to do. I will have to go through all my gadgets and add another method to many of them. So but I'm going to do it. It's with more reluctance than the last change, and I may find myself really regretting it, but nah, I'll do it. do it? Yes, I will. I'm going over it in my mind again and again, and as I've spoken about it, I've kind of got a bit closer to understanding, I think, what I need it to do. And I'll rename some things, and I'll make it a bit cleaner. I won't need this kind of ugliness. It is really horrible. Look at this. Global instance blank skin equals new skin. It's all just pointless stuff. And I can actually keep this kind of thing. I don't need an instance anymore. This kind of thing is quite nice because again it lets me just store these little pieces of information. I can know that if sharp skin's going to be drawn a lot, it's handy to have spaces, or I feel it's handy to have little spaces where I can scurry things away. But then, you know, there's always the stack. I believe it's very fast. Anyway. And then I'd be able to use the debugger, like I say. But I'm just not very clever. So, here's the way it'll work. I will, starting with GUI classes, restructure the costume definitions. And I will implement, make it a lot easier to implement a variety of gadget styles inside the one GUI. And I will start to do that next time.